Episode. Oh. Got a little excited there. What's up, beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of the BMR NBA show. My name is Junior Browne. Flying solo today. Jordan flew solo yesterday, so I thought I'd give it a try and see how it goes. Lots of NBA action to talk about. Really excited to be here. Now, usually we do a recap of the previous day's action, but since I'm here by myself, I prefer to get straight into today's games. So let's go ahead and kick it off with the Detroit Pistons, who are the Philadelphia 76ers, who are traveling to Detroit to take on the Pistons. Now, the spread that we have for this game here is the Philadelphia 76ers -6, and this is one of those interesting ones because at 6 the line definitely seems short, and the reason why the line is short is because of the absence of Tobias Harris. Now, for those of you that have been paying attention to Sixers basketball, not to say that Joel Embiid is not playing well, because that would absolutely not be true. But he's not playing up to his standard. He's only averaging 20 points a game and under 45% shooting. Now, I'm one of those old school guys. If you're a 7-footer and you're not shooting 50%, you're already not doing your job. Now, obviously, with Joel Embiid, he brings so much more to the table than just offense. He's one of the premier defensive players, not just at his position, but in the entire NBA. And also, he dominates on the boards. He's the catalyst for everything they do. But while he's not been up to his usual offensive standard, Tobias Harris has been balling. Tobias Harris is averaging 19.8 points a game, 9 rebounds to go along with 4 assists, shooting 54% from the field. And he's really picked up the slack and allowed Embiid to find his way as the season progresses. And I think that without Tobias Harris, the short line does make sense, but it's actually my first official play. I'm still going with Philly here, and the reason being is that the Detroit Pistons are not good at anything. If you want to talk about struggling, the Pistons through 7 games are redefining that term. So let me just go through all the things that Detroit is last in the league in, because you'd be surprised at how many things. They're last in the league in points per game. They're last in the league in terms of margin of victory, or I guess margin of defeat, because they're losing by over 11 points a game. They're last in the league in offensive efficiency. They're last in the league in net rating. They're last in the league in 2-point field goals made. They're last in the league in field goal percentage, period. They're last in the league in 3-point percentage. They're last in the league in defensive rebounds. I mean, I'm going to just stop because it almost sounds like I'm just making this up. They are horrendous. Cade Cunningham coming back is a huge boost, obviously, #1 overall pick. Reason to be excited for the fans, but that's not translated to success on the court. Cade Cunningham through 2 games is shooting 13% from the field. Now, obviously, 2 games is not enough to judge this guy and say he's a bust or anything like that. If you've seen Cade Cunningham play basketball before, while he was in college, he's a super talented guy. Definitely going to make a difference to that team and that organization moving forward. But as of today, as of right now, no. Just no, and no. They, I believe, are going to get Detroit's best defense. Detroit is going to get the Pistons' best defensive effort. I think that Philadelphia, surprisingly, is leading the league in offensive efficiency, which is not something they've been known for. Obviously, Ben Simmons haters, step forward and state your case that their offensive efficiency is way better, because they don't have the anchor of Ben Simmons's offensive liability holding them down. But I'm gonna flip that argument and say, well, yeah, but now they're 14th in defense, and last year they were 2nd in defense, and for the last couple of years since Embiid and Simmons have been a duo, they've been top 5 in defense, and I think that has a lot to do with Ben Simmons' absence. He's a player who's a first-team all-defensive player, one of the best one-on-one defenders in the league, a guy that can guard multiple positions, whether it's guarding you in the post or sticking with perimeter guys. I know we as fans concentrate on offense, but part of the reason that Ben Simmons is a perennial all-star, despite his obvious flaws on offense, is because his defense is elite. So I don't think that his absence is enough to have Philadelphia stay outside the top 10. Right now, they're ranked 14th in the league in defense. But I do think that if they are going to be who they want to be, they have to be closer to the top 5-10 than they are to the middle of the pack, which is where they sit right now. And the perfect elixir when you're struggling on defense is a putrid offensive team like this Detroit Pistons team. So I'm going to go ahead and take the under here. I got it at under 207. That is an official play for this first game. I think that's enough about that first game. So let's move on to the next game. Another pretty interesting game, honestly, in my opinion. We got the Heat traveling to the Celtics. I'm going to try not to go on a rant here, but it's going to be really hard. So here goes. First of all, the Boston Celtics under new coach, first of all, just not having Brad Stevens after having him for so many years was always going to be difficult for a few different reasons. Not only because of his basketball philosophy, not only because of his tenure, but because their stars, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, they've only known Brad Stevens. They've never had another coach. They've never played for anyone else. They've never taken instructions from anyone else. And there was always a possibility that once they were freed from the reign of Brad Stevens, that they might go a little bit wild. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. In the sense that they're not playing team basketball. For those of you who didn't see the other day, on the show, I kind of said as much, and literally the very next day when they lost, after getting outscored 39-11 in the fourth quarter of that game that they ended up losing, which in a game where they were up, I guess it was against the Chicago Bulls, they were up huge and ended up losing. Marcus Smart called out his two stars. He said, everybody knows that Tatum and Browne are going to try and go one-on-one, and that's kind of easy to stop. And in order to, prevent teams from employing that tactic, they're going to have to move the ball, which they're not doing. Like Marcus Smart said, there ain't too much I can do if I'm just standing in the corner watching. And until those two grow up, and I say grow up because we kind of forget how young these guys are. These guys are not even 25 years old, even though they've accomplished so much. Until these guys grow up and their basketball IQ becomes higher, and I'm not trying to say they don't have a high basketball IQ. What I'm trying to say is they're playing like they do not. And until that changes, until they grow up, until they fix their mistakes, until they become playmakers as well as scorers, the team's going to struggle. The team's going to struggle because outside of those two, their roster's not that deep. And I think that this Miami team, listen, man, this Miami team is on a mission right now, okay? And I don't know that they're a championship team, but what I do know is in the early part of the season, to me, to these four eyes, they look like the best team in the NBA. They're dominant on offense. They're dominant on defense. They've got guys who play hard every single night. That stupid saying that is so overused, the Heat way. Well, the Heat way, when it works, is a real thing. And the Heat way is hard work, no excuses, tough nose mentality. It's really the Pat Riley way, the Godfather, sitting up there in the box seats in the front office, working his magic, just like he did when he was a little kid in the 80s, like he did with the Knicks, who haven't been good literally since he was there in the 90s. He's done it everywhere he's gone. He's brought championships to Miami, championships to LA. He's just been successful everywhere. He is a winner. The Godfather, Pat Riley, is a born winner. And if you subscribe to the Heat way, like Kyle Lowry seems to have done, like PJ Tucker is doing, and you add that to the pieces they already have, you got a dangerous team. You got a team that has a lot of potential. You got a team that's 1 year removed from having been in the NBA Finals. So I say all that long-winded stuff to say, I'm laying points with the Heat here, guys. Listen, I am not a fan of laying more than two possessions or more against a quality team. But as of today, as of right now, the Celtics are not a quality team. The Celtics are a potentially quality team, but I don't see anything from them that leads me to believe that I should have any fear with them. Now, obviously, they're not going to be this bad forever, but they're 21st on offense, 18th on defense, and they can't make a goddamn shot. And I'm sorry to say this, but when your best player, Jason Tatum, plays like he has no balls. I don't care how politically correct it is. He plays like he has no goddamn balls. This guy's 6'9", 6'10", unstoppable one-on-one. He's jacking up 9 threes a game. Soft. Where I come from, how I grew up, that is called soft. If he did not have the ability to post up, if he did not have the ability to go to the basket, then I wouldn't say that he was soft. I'd just say he's playing his game. He's just doing what he does. But he does have that ability. He can go to the basket. He can post up. Instead, he's shooting 8 threes a game and 4 free throws a game at 6'10". Stop it, bro. You're taking 23.5 shots a game and you're making only 38% of them. Fall back. Even Jaylen Browne is taking only 19 shots a game and he's shooting 51% and he's only taking 19 shots a game. You're shooting 38% and you're jacking up 23 shots a game. Son, take a step back, take a deep breath. Look at yourself in the mirror, figure it out, because you are dragging your team down with you. And real leaders, real superstars, find ways to help their team win when their shots are not falling. And Jason Tatum is absolutely not doing that right now. I didn't want to go on a Jason Tatum rant, but I hate watching these guys with all this ability, all this potential, play like they have no goddamn sense. It's really, really discouraging to watch. And for all of those reasons, I'm laying the 6 points with the Heat, guys. That is my other official play. Those are the only 2 official plays I have, but we will go through the rest of the games, give you guys a little bit of analysis and a little insight on what I'm thinking. So whenever you guys are ready, Esteban, let's hit up the next game. Now, we got the Atlanta Hawks headed to Utah. Really tough place to play. Line seems pretty short here. I'm actually going to go take it another step further. This line feels a little disrespectful to the Utah Jazz. I'm not going to lie to you. The Utah Jazz are not the force that we saw last season. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull up different odds because I'm almost like not even believing the odds that I'm seeing here. The Jazz are not the force that we saw last season, and I get that. But they're still one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. I get it. People might say, well, this is actually disrespectful to the Hawks. Is there an Eastern Conference Finals team? Let's calm down. They had a good playoff run. And they've started this season well, but they are a flawed team. They do have flaws. There are things that they need to improve on, and I think that my handicap of this game is Utah minus 2.5. I see Utah minus 1.5 available. So to me, this is actually a good price. I'm not going to lay points with Utah on the road here because I think that the Hawks are one of those teams that I don't truly have them figured out. Like for example, Trae Young looks like he's become a better playmaker. Not to say that he was ever a bad one, but with the way that the fouls are being called and he's not really getting to the line like he used to, he seems like he's kind of made a more of a conscious effort to get his teammates involved. Atlanta also, they don't really turn the ball over. They're actually really good for such a young team. They're actually really good at taking care of the ball. They're one of the best teams in the NBA in terms of assist-to-turnover ratio, in terms of playmaking, obviously led by Trae Young. So the signs are there. There's reasons to be encouraged. They're also the third best rebounding team in the league. They have a lot to be encouraged by. This is why I'm not involved in this game. The thing that made Atlanta successful last year, the thing that helped them go on their run, was their defense. When Nate McMillan took over from Lloyd Pierce, their defensive numbers were through the roof. That's what allowed them to be a top 5 team record-wise from the time Nate McMillan took over to the playoffs. It's one of the reasons that they were able to make that improbable run to the Eastern Conference Finals. That defense is not there so far this season. Like early on in the season, they're 22nd in defense. If the Atlanta Hawks finish 22nd in defense, they are at best a 7 or 8 seed. In their minds, especially after making a conference final, I would have to believe that they would be disappointed to finish outside of the top 4, although it's going to be difficult because they're not better than Brooklyn, they're not better than Milwaukee, they're not better than Philly for all intents and purposes, and they don't look better than Miami. So at best, I think they're going to be 5th. But the way that they're playing right now, not playing good defense, not making threes. And it's not even that they're not making threes in terms of percentage. They're 24th in three-point attempts. That is not going to get it done, Atlanta. Especially not with the roster makeup that these guys have. And they're not getting to the line either. They're 26th in free throw attempts. So they're not making shots and they're not defending well. I mean, do I have to tell anybody watching this that's a bad combination? So I'm out on the Hawks until I see more of a sample size. And as for the Utah Jazz, they look good. They're playing well on both sides of the ball. Their defense is kind of getting back to what we've expected over the last couple of years. They're 3rd in the league in defensive efficiency. So they look good, but the threes are not falling. Remember, last season, they took and made the most threes in the league. That was the formula for them. They literally went from somewhere in the 20s 2 years ago to like right up there number 1 and 2 in takes and makes. This season, they're number 2 in takes, but they're only number 9 in makes, and they're number 9 in makes because they're 24th in the league in three-point percentage at 32%. That's just variance. It's really, really hard to sustain the type of shooting that they put up last year. And when you look at their roster, how many pure shooters do they really have? They have a lot of guys that can make shots. And if you're going to take the most threes and shoot an above average percentage, then you're likely to be successful. But again, pure shooters, Bogdanovich is a pure shooter. But pure shooters, I feel like they have scorers and not pure shooters. So it doesn't really shock me to see the variance come back to bite them the other way after all the success that they've had shooting threes, if I'm going to be honest. And they rely so heavily on threes that, you know what I mean? If they're not making them, they're just not, their ceiling is going to just be much lower. Now, I'm talking as if they're playing badly. They're not. They're actually 6-1. And the reason they've been able to do that is because they have a player in Donovan Mitchell who is a superstar. A player in Donovan Mitchell who plays very aggressively. And they've been able to recognize one thing that they weren't taking advantage of in the past, which is feeding Rudy Gobert. Now, listen, I personally have to admit that Rudy Gobert is one of my least favorite NBA players of all time, if I'm just going to be honest. I think I won't go as far as to say he's super overrated. He's super overrated by people like on Reddit. Like I've gotten into a lot of arguments with people on Reddit who are clearly Utah fans who say that he's one of the 15 to 20 best players in the league. And my rebuttal to that is, how could you be one of the best players in the league, but you're unplayable in crunch time of important games? Like it doesn't make any sense. But this season, Gobert is averaging 8.4 free throws a game. The big man, is getting fed. He's getting fed, and as a result, he's averaging a career high 14 rebounds a game. Get big men involved. And not always, but good things tend to happen because they then put in the effort on the other side of the court. And he's already, a multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year. If you get him excited, you get him engaged, you get him happy to play, you got a guy that's going to be super productive. And the Utah Jazz actually lead the league in made free throws per game. So I'm not going to say that this is a recipe for success because, again, I'm saying this maybe too often. Since the season started, the sample size is too small. But they've managed to overcome their lack of three-point shooting and lack of playmaking by getting easier shots. They're playing a little bit faster than they usually do. They're 11th in the league in pace, so they're getting out and running and getting layups in situations where they otherwise wouldn't. But I cannot possibly take either side of this game because I just do not see an advantage. So this one's a pass for me. Next up, we got my homies, my boys, or my boys last year. They certainly ain't my boys this year. The Phoenix Suns taking on the Houston Rockets. And I'm just going to say that the Phoenix Suns will be in the playoffs. The Phoenix Suns are a good team. Just not right now. And there's several reasons for that. First of all, here's one of those things where you don't even have to understand the sport to know that what I'm about to tell you cannot possibly continue if you want to have any type of success. The Suns make the least amount of threes in the league, and they allow the most amount of threes in the league. You can't go into every game -6 on the three in threes. You can't. It's not possible. And if you do, then you better be shooting a ridiculous percentage in all other areas and taking a ton of free throws and getting out and running and getting easy baskets. And Phoenix is not doing any of those things. The Suns have so many problems, but I start with their inability to make shots. Now, part of the reason they're not making threes is because they're not really taking threes. But again, if that's the case, and you know, okay, this is not part of our game plan, we're not going to take a lot of threes, then you have to think just logically, defending the three then automatically becomes a priority. If you're not going to take a lot of them, you can't allow a lot of them because again, you're look, a 60% 2-point shooter is a 40% 3-point shooter. I take 10 shots. I shoot 60% from 2. I got 6 points. I take 10 shots. I shoot 40% from 3. You get what I'm saying? Like, and I'm sorry because I was just actually getting upset. You shoot 60% from 2, you have 12 points, not 6 points, obviously. You shoot 40% from 3, you have 12 points. The point is, if you're going to allow a shot that requires you to be uber efficient in the shots that you're taking, the 3 versus the 2, then you gotta shoot a ton of free throws. You gotta make a large percentage of your 2-point shots. You've gotta get out and run and get fast break points. This is not happening for Phoenix. Phoenix is terrible right now, and they look like last year when they made the finals, there was just no expectation that they were going to do anything. So when you don't really have an expectation, there's no pressure. Now that they've been to the finals, I feel like these guys, they're playing with a weight on their shoulders that they did not have before. And it's pretty obvious whether it's Cameron Payne or any of these other young guys who were chirping a lot. Remember in the beginning of the season, Cameron Payne was talking trash. Sorry, there's a fly here. Cameron Payne was talking trash, and LeBron said, "Hey, humble yourself now. You know, it's early. You chirping a lot. Well, they'll probably don't have too much to say at 3-3 through 6 games. Again, it's not the end of the world. They could go on a huge run. We saw last year they were able to put some serious runs together and turn their season around. But as of right now, they are anything but a bet-on team. And as far as the Houston Rockets, I'm just going to tell you the problem with them. The problem with them is that they don't have a playmaker. They don't have a point guard. It's very hard to be successful in the NBA without a true playmaker. You don't have to have a superstar point guard, but you have to have a guy who goes into games thinking to himself, I'm going to get my teammates involved. I'm going to make sure that everybody eats. They don't really have that right now. And I think that's going to cost them in terms of their development. But not to be too long-winded, because we got one more game to get to here. If you're laying 10 points with the Phoenix Suns the way that they look right now, you need to have your head examined, because if for no other reason, the Houston Rockets are actually like 12th in the league in defensive efficiency. Like Houston defends for real. Houston is ranked higher in defensive efficiency than the Phoenix Suns are. Just to give you an idea of why you should not be laying double digits with this Phoenix team. They're not good right now. Houston defends, and they play at a really, really fast pace. So if they're going to get up and run, get out there and run, they can put some points on the board, get some easy. You see that they got high-flying athletes out there. So I would be wary about laying these 10 points with the Phoenix Suns. And finally, let's get to our last game here. I didn't really leave much time to talk about it because I don't really have anything to say about it, to be honest with you. The Lakers are what they are. They're clearly a team that's built for the playoffs. The regular season doesn't mean anything to this team. So for me to lay this many points with them seems like utter insanity. I know Oklahoma City is bad, but this is an absolute pass. I either take the points with Oklahoma City or I pass. I can't take the points with Oklahoma City because everything I said about the Pistons kind of applies to Oklahoma City. So this is just an all-around pass for me. So let's just recap real quick. I only have 2 picks, so it's not really that difficult to recap. Laying the points with Philadelphia, they're actually available at 5. I got them at 6 because I took this pretty early, but they're actually available at 5 now. And I'm going with the Miami Heat -6 as well. I think that they take care of business against this Boston team that plays a style of basketball that is so easy for Miami to defend right now. I don't see any way Boston has any success here. But that's it for today. Thank you for joining me. I was about to say joining us because I'm so used to doing this show with my guy, Jordan Sharp. I didn't get to see yesterday's show, so I'm hoping Jordan's Picks cashed you guys some tickets. Please make sure to visit bookmakerreview.com. Got all the articles there, tons of sharp picks, not just in basketball, but all the sports you could possibly need. Please, please, please make sure to like, share, subscribe. We'll be here tomorrow, same time, same place. Thank you for joining.